Greetings, my name is Alex Rogals, and I am a culture teacher here at Hunter College's Japanese program. Uh, we are very, very happy today to welcome Miss Risa Shibuya from the consulate, the Japanese consulate, as part of our Networking Japan Career Development Series. This series is intended to introduce Hunter students and those outside who are joining us to the various ways in which you can apply a Japanese major or a Japanese minor to a future career. And what Ms. Shibuya is going to be talking about today, the MEXT program, is one of those great opportunities that can come from studying Japanese language and culture. So please, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Ms. Shibuya.
So today I would like to talk about MEXT Scholarship Program. MEXT Scholarship is a prestigious scholarship program with more than 60 years history. 120,000 students from around 170 countries and regions around the world have studied in Japan under this program. The purpose of MEXT is to develop human resources who will become a bridge between the US and Japan. Hopefully, they will go on to contribute to the development of the two countries and by extension, the world. As of 2021, about 8,800 students study in Japan under MEXT program. On the next slide, we will look at what kind of programs are offered in the MEXT scholarship. Okay. So we have three types of scholarship programs. Kenkyū ryūgakusei, which is research, and Gakubu ryūgakusei, which is undergraduate, and Nihon bunka kenkyū ryūgakusei, which is Japanese studies. The research program is for graduate students. Students spend 18 or 24 months conducting independent research at a university in Japan under supervision of a professor, or pursue an MA or PhD if qualified. The undergraduate program is for those who want to attain a BA or BS degree in up to 5 years. The Japanese studies is for college students majoring in Japanese language and Japanese studies. As I understand that the majority of you are students of Hunter College, and we don't want to steal you away from Hunter College. So we are going to focus on the two scholarship programs most relevant to you, research and Japanese studies. Let's have a look at the criteria for each program. So here is the research program. Research program is the most widely offered Japanese government scholarship in the United States. Applicants should apply for the field of study they majored in at their university or a related field. The maximum duration for this scholarship is 2 years, including Japanese language training. Japanese language skills are not a requirement. This is a very big difference between the research course and Japanese studies. And you will have 6 months of language training. What I would like to highlight here is that living expenses will be given in order to provide an environment in which students can focus on their studies. And there are opportunities to extend research into a master's or doctorate. The next is about undergraduate level. For the undergraduate level, we have 2 options, the undergraduate and Japanese studies. So as I mentioned earlier, today I would like to focus on Japanese studies here. The Japanese studies is for those who are majoring in fields related to Japanese language and or Japanese culture. I heard from Balkan Sensei that Hunter College is going to establish the first Japanese language and culture major in the New York City area this fall or the following year. So that is a very exciting news. I heard that you would be able to switch your major to Japanese major if you meet the conditions. Once you are enrolled in Japanese major, you will be qualified to Japanese Studies of MEXT Scholarship Program. The duration of the program is 1 academic year. And like the graduation program, living expenses will be provided. Due to having to know know Japanese, there is a greater emphasis on Japanese language test scores during the application phase. That is the big difference between the undergraduate and the research course. And I will talk about the details later. So this is a timeline. And this is a timeline for research course. Usually, the application period starts in April or May, so it's very soon. After you take English and Japanese exams and interview in June, you will receive results in July or August. If successful, candidates are given what is called embassy recommendation, which they use to apply to schools in Japan. After you successfully receive acceptance letters from a university, up to 3, they must be submitted to the Ministry of Education, MEXT, at which point the ministry will decide which school you attend. Final acceptance and university is determined in January of the following year. You will enter Japan in April, September, or October. As the application process starts from next month, probably, please check the consulate's website and our Facebook and Twitter accounts if you are interested in applying for the research program. And this is the timeline for Japanese studies. The application process begins in January. This year, we close the acceptance of the application in mid-February. After having an interview and a Japanese exam in February, the applicants will receive the interview results in April. Then they will receive final notice of acceptance by August and begin courses in October. Okay. And here are application documents. This is a list of the application packets for the research course and Japanese studies. With regards to the research studies, research plan is very, very important. You should give us a specific account of your intended research topic, methodology, and how your research fits into current research being done in the field. You should also tell us why this research must be done at a Japanese university. Although you need to take English and Japanese tests, scores are less important than research plan. Actually, I was an interviewer of MEXT scholarship over the last 2 years, and I confess that even applicants who could barely speak Japanese have been accepted as long as they showed their willingness to learn Japanese and conduct their research in Japan. As for Japanese studies, the story is very different. The applicants need to take Japanese test, and the score will determine success. Japanese test is comprehensive covering JLPT and 5, 2, and 2. Key to success. So these are general qualities that make candidates successful. To explain them in order, the first, students should be able to explain why they want to study in Japan. This is especially important for research applicants. The graduate students can be any type of major, such as history, literature, journalism, or science. Your research should be relevant to Japan. The second, for research applicants, academic prowess is important. Having a strong sense of what it takes to conduct research is a necessary quality that needs to be demonstrated in the application process. While strong Japanese language ability isn't a requirement for research, as I mentioned, it will make the applicant more competitive. For Japanese studies, language ability is a requirement. The last 2 points are related. The application process for MEXT can be confusing at times. Students must make sure to read the guidelines thoroughly to submit a complete application. Many people are disqualified for avoidable mistakes, unfortunately. For research students, have your plans thought out, well-researched, with your scores cited. Okay, so now you got the clearer image of what MEXT is. So I heard that the majority of you take a Japanese class and speak Japanese. So I'd like to show some sample questions of the exam of MEXT scholarship. Let's try. So the first one is, this is some sample questions, exams of research studies from fiscal year 2020, 2 years ago. And let's try. 棒線に入る一番適当なものを A から D の中から一つ選びなさい。じゃあ Let's go to the number one. 山田さんは頭が親切です。So you can choose from here. And of course, the answer is she. よくて親切です。Number two. Okay. ナムさんはスープを飲みました。Which one is the answer? Of course, the answer is 美味しそうにスープを飲みました。The answer is D, like that. This is an easier one actually. So let's try more difficult one. 棒線と同じ内容のもの、または棒線と最も関係のあるものを A から D の中から一つ選びなさい。Let's try number one.
I'm not sure. わかりましたか皆さん。You have to use the same meaning or something very related to the meaning, right?
Yes, thank you very much, Parkan Sensei. So this is, I think, a little bit difficult. So I'm not sure, whether you know this expression. それぐらいのことでムキになるなんてちょっと大人げないですよ。What does ムキになる mean? It's difficult, isn't it? ムキになる means 腹を立てる。The answer is D. So like this is sample examples, sample questions of the research studies. So if you study, Japanese very hard, I'm sure that you will get, better results. But again, research students is not, the Japanese language skill is not a requirement for research studies, but the language skill would be more competitive, make you more competitive. So I think that, I strongly recommend that you study Japanese. Okay. So this is the, so if you go to this website, you can see the story of the alumni of MEXT scholarship, I think that it is very important to read and hear the real story of the alumni of MEXT scholarship. And today, we have a very, very special alumna of MEXT scholarships. So, Balkan Sensei, so if you don't mind, could you share your story about the MEXT scholarship and how impacted the scholarship on your life and study? So as you might know, Japan closed its border, unfortunately, since November 2021. But as of March 1st, Japan has resumed accepting foreign nationals for non-tourist purposes, including international students. So now I'm happy to announce that all of you international students, we are very happy to welcome you. I have to say, we cannot predict what happens in the future. So we might have another, COVID-19 new variant like Omicron. And if that happens, that will be very difficult to keep the border open. So we have to see the situation very closely. But right now, at the moment, the border of Japan is open. And on March 3rd, Prime Minister Kishida of Japan stated that international students are the treasure of Japan. And we decided to create a special scheme for international students to facilitate their entry into Japan. So we are, doing as many things as possible. So I hope that you will be interested in MEXT scholarship and studying in Japan. And if you have any questions, we are always here, and please reach out to us. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation. Thank you very much, Balkan Sensei. ありがとうございました。